I stood in for my elder sister on her wedding day, and this happened. It was a bright Saturday morning in Lagos, and the air was buzzing with excitement. I adjusted my gele one last time, staring at the woman in the mirror. I barely recognized myself. The deep red lace dress fit snugly, hugging every curve. My makeup was flawless, and the elaborate headpiece gave me an almost regal look. Yet, under all that glam, a deep knot of anxiety twisted in my stomach. I wasn't the bride. No, my sister Teni was. But she was out of the country, stuck with a last-minute work emergency in New York, and the wedding couldn't be postponed. Teni had asked me to represent her, to stand in her place at the ceremony so her marriage to Kola could be legal. They were deeply in love, or so I thought, and she would be back in no time for the traditional celebrations. This was supposed to be simple. Go in, smile for the pictures, sign the papers, and wait for Teni to return. But deep down, I knew Lagos weddings were never simple. The crowd, the tension, the whispered drama that always seemed to hang just beneath the surface. This was going to be far more complicated than I was prepared for. As I stepped out of the car and into the grand hall where the ceremony was taking place, the guests' eyes fell on me. I wasn't Teni, but in the same outfit, we could have been twins. Kola stood at the altar, looking every bit the rich, handsome Lagosian groom. His fitted agbada was pristine white with golden embroidery, his eyes dark and intense. Our eyes met, and something shifted in the air. I felt it. His gaze lingered a moment too long. It wasn't the look of a man simply seeing his sister's bride. There was heat, a slow burning intensity that made my skin prickle. I swallowed hard. This was nothing. Maybe he was just nervous. Weddings do that to people. The ceremony progressed quickly. I stood at the altar, my hands trembling as Kola and I exchanged vows in front of hundreds of guests. The priest pronounced us husband and wife in proxy, as was custom, and then Kola slid the ring onto my finger. His touch lingered. It was then that I felt it. Something wasn't right. As we made our way back down the aisle, the cheers and applause of the crowd drowned out the pounding of my heart. Kola leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. "You look stunning," he whispered, "even more than I imagined." The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Before I could respond, we stepped outside, surrounded by friends and family congratulating the newlyweds. And then, right in front of everyone, Kola did something that sent my heart racing. He kissed me. It wasn't a peck on the cheek. It was full, deep, and passionate, right on the lips. The word froze. My head spun. I could feel all the eyes on us. The whispers, the cameras clicking, capturing the moment that was supposed to be Teni's. My sister's wedding. I pushed him away, but he only smiled, a dark and knowing look flashing in his eyes. "Relax, it's just for show," he said softly, his lips dangerously close to mine again. But something in his voice didn't feel like it was for show at all. The wedding reception went on in the blur of traditional music, dancing and food. But I was numb, my mind racing, trying to process what had just happened. Kola stayed by my side the entire time, too close, his hands brushing against mine or resting on my back every chance he got. I couldn't shake the feeling that his touches were intentional and possessive. By the time the party ended and we were back at the hotel where I was supposed to stay for the night before returning to my apartment, my nerves were shot. Kola insisted on walking me to my room, his eyes never leaving mine. I felt cornered. I felt suffocated. "Let me help you out of that dress," he said smoothly as soon as we were inside. "What?" My voice was barely more than a whisper. The horror of the situation was beginning to settle in. Kola wasn't joking. He wasn't being overly friendly. He was serious. His hands moved towards me, and I backed away quickly, my pulse spiking. "Kola, stop! This is crazy." "Teni isn't here," he interrupted, his voice low. "Dangerous. You are. And I can't stop thinking about you ever since the first day I met you. Sade, you are the one I want." My heart pounded in my chest as the reality of his words hit me. This wasn't some drunken misstep or misunderstanding. Kola, my sister's husband, had been secretly in love with me all along. I had to get out of here now. Before I could make an excuse to leave, my phone buzzed. It was Teni. Her face popped up on the screen, her smile bright, oblivious to the storm brewing on the side of the ocean. "Hey, Sade," she greeted cheerfully. "How's my wedding going? Is everything okay?" I swallowed hard, forcing a smile. Kola stood too close, his eyes still locked on mine. "Everything is fine," I lied, trying to keep my voice steady. "It went smoothly." "Great. I'm so sorry again I couldn't be there, but I'll be home in a week. I hope Kola is not driving you crazy with all the questions," she laughed, completely unaware of the tension between us. I wanted to tell her. I wanted to scream at her to come back, to fix this mess, but I couldn't. Not now. After a quick conversation, Teni hung up, leaving me alone with her husband. Kola was silent, watching me with the same dark intensity. "You can't tell her," he said suddenly, his voice like ice. "Not now, she wouldn't understand." He stepped closer, and I took a step back. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. "You ruin everything, and I don't think you want to do that, do you, Sade?" His voice was smooth, like velvet, but underneath, it was a threat, a warning. This was no longer about love or lust. This was control. The days that followed were unbearable. Kola's advances became more frequent, more aggressive. He would find any excuse to be near me, touching my arm, brushing against me. Every smile, every gesture was filled with possessiveness. I couldn't breathe. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from Teni, excited about her return, asking about her husband. I was living a lie, suffocating under the weight of the secret. I needed a way out, but how could I escape without destroying everything? How could I protect my sister without Kola ruining both our lives? The night before Teni's return, I finally snapped. Kola showed up at my apartment unannounced, drunk and determined. "This isn't a game, Sade. You are mine," he said, his voice slurred. "But Menansen, you are the one I want." I bolted for the door, heart racing. "You are insane," I spat, fumbling for my phone. "Stay away from me, Kola. This ends now." But he was faster, pinning me against the wall. "It only ends when I say it ends," he whispered, his breath hot against my skin. Just as I thought things couldn't get worse, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Teni. It was a message from her best friend, Bimbo. "Sade, you need to talk to Teni now. There's something you don't know." My fingers shook as I read the message. What could possibly be worse than this nightmare? My breath hitched as I stared at Bimbo's message. The words blurred before my eyes, and the room seemed to spin. What didn't I know? What could possibly make the situation worse? I pushed Kola away, my heart hammering in my chest. He staggered back, his drunken grip loosening just enough for me to slip out of his hold. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Bimbo. "You don't understand, Sade. Teni and Kola's relationship isn't what you think." Kola tried to regain his balance, his bloodshot eyes narrowing as he reached for me again. But I didn't care anymore. I needed to get out, to breathe, to think. Without a second thought, I grabbed my keys and bolted for the door. I sped through the bustling street of Lagos, the city alive with its usual night traffic, horn blaring, street vendors shouting, and the bright lights of the mainland casting airy shadows on the road. My mind racing faster than a car. What was Bimbo talking about? What was she hiding? I finally pulled over into a quiet parking lot and dialed Bimbo's number. She picked up after the first ring, her voice tight with urgency. "Sade, thank God you called back." "Bimbo, what's going on? I'm losing my mind here. What did you mean by your message?" My voice trembling as I spoke, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. There was a pause on the other end of the line, followed by a deep sigh. "Sade, there is something I should have told you before the wedding, but I didn't know how. Teni doesn't love Kola." "What?" Bimbo continued, her voice hurried. "Their relationship has been rocky for months now. Teni didn't want to get married. She's been having second thoughts about Kola for a while now. I thought she would cancel the whole thing when she got stuck in New York, but she didn't. I felt a cold wave of shock roll over me. But why didn't she say anything? Why go through with it? Bimbo sighed again. It's complicated. You know how our parents are. They pushed her into it. Kola is rich and his family has connections. Teni thought if she married him, it would solve everything. She figured she could learn to love him again. I could hardly breathe. My sister didn't love Kola. Then why was I here, standing in for her? At her wedding, trapped in this mess with a man who was obsessed with me. Does Teni know about Kola's feelings for me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. No, Bimbo replied quickly. I don't think she has any idea. But Sade, I'm scared. Kola is not just any man. There's something off about him. I've seen the way he looks at you. I've noticed it for a while now. But I didn't say anything because I thought I was imagining things. My stomach churned. This wasn't just the case of a man with wandering eyes. Kola was dangerous. And now I knew for certain that Teni wasn't safe. Bimbo, what do? I asked, tears stinging my eyes. I can't keep lying to Teni. But I don't know how to tell her any of this. Bimbo's voice softened. You need to talk to her. She deserves to know the truth before things get even worse. But whatever you do, be careful around Kola. He's not going to let you walk away from this easily. The next morning, Teni arrived from New York, completely unaware of the emotional chaos that awaited her. I had barely slept, my mind replaying every interaction with Kola, every lie I had told, every time I had let myself believe I could fix this. I met Teni at our parents' house, where she greeted me with her usual bright smile, her arms wrapping around me in a tight hug. She looked radiant, as if the weight of the world had been lifted off her shoulders. Sade, you did it. You saved my wedding. She laughed, completely unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. My throat tightened. I couldn't keep this secret any longer. Teni, we need to talk, I said, my voice low but firm. Her smile faltered and she frowned, sensing the seriousness in my tone. What's wrong? Is everything okay? I hesitated for a moment, then led her into the sitting room, away from our parents and the noise of the household, my heart racing as I gathered the courage to tell her everything. Teni, Kola isn't who you think he is, I began, my voice trembling. He's been coming on to me ever since the wedding. Her eyes widened in shock, but before she could say anything, I continued. And there is more. Bimbo told me everything about how you've had second thoughts and how you didn't want to go through with the wedding. Why didn't you tell me? I could have helped. Teni stared at me, her face pale. She sank onto the couch, her hands shaking. Sade, I didn't want to burden you. I thought I could handle it. I thought if I just married him, things would get better. I knelt beside her, grabbing her hands. Teni, Kola is obsessed with me. This isn't just about you not loving him. He's dangerous. We need to figure out how to get you away from him. For a long moment, she was silent, her eyes filling with tears. I had no idea. I didn't think he was like that. Suddenly, the front door swung open and in walked Kola. Kola's presence filled the room, his eyes instantly locking onto mine. He hadn't seen Teni yet, sitting behind the door on the couch, her figure hidden by the shadows. His face lit up with a sickening smile as he approached me. There you are, he said, his voice dripping with arrogance. We need to talk, Sade. Teni stood up, her face pale but determined. No, Kola, we need to talk. Kola's smile faltered as his gaze shifted to her. For a moment, the room was silent, the tension thick in the air. Then his face hardened. I don't know what Sade told you, but whatever it is, it's not what you think, he began, his tone defensive. She's been confused and her voice cold and steady. Don't lie to me, Kola. I know everything. I know about how you've been trying to get close to her, how you've been manipulating me and all, This marriage is over. For the first time, Kola's mask slipped. His calm, collected demeanor cracked, revealing the anger simmering beneath the surface. You think you can just walk away from me? He spat, his voice low and dangerous. You think you can live after everything I've done for you? I stepped in front of Teni, my heart pounding. She's not yours to control, Kola. It's over! Kola's eyes darkened, and for a moment I thought he might lash out, but then without a word, he turned and stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. In the days that followed, Teni filed for an annulment, cutting ties with Kola for good. It wasn't easy. His family was powerful, and the whispers of scandal spread through Lagos like wildfire. But in the end, Teni's safety and peace of mind were worth more than any societal expectation. As for me, I finally felt free. The weight of the secret had lifted, and I knew that we had both escaped something dark and dangerous. Lagos moved on, as it always did, buzzing, chaotic, and alive, and so did we. But we would never forget the shadow that had almost consumed us. Sometimes, the scariest things aren't the ghosts in the night, but the people closest to you. The end.